to Wrestling with Faith, and I'm absolutely over the moon to have on tonight's podcast the one and only Tate Mayfairs. Tate, how are you doing?
I am very, very good, my friend. Thank you so much for having me.
No, not at all, man. Blessed to have you on. So, Tate, it's very early doors in 2022. How was Christmas and New Year for Tate Mayfairs?
You know what? Christmas, I think Santa had me on the wrong list. I was one of the many that got Christmas COVID. So I did. Yeah, I spent it in isolation. But you know what? I've been running hard all year, and I guess it was good to force me to sit down and reflect and enjoy the more laid back parts of life. So that was all right. And then following that, as soon as I got straight out of isolation and lockdown, luckily I wasn't too badly affected by COVID. But as soon as I got straight out, it was the first day out. It was straight into a tour of wrestling shows where I was doing. I think it was 4-day tour, and I was wrestling 2 matches every night. So there was the first match back was quite the cardio kick to the system, but I was back in the groove by the next match.
Well, let's talk about that. And what a great starting point. So sadly, you caught COVID. You had to self-isolate, which I would imagine. Not only did you have, like you've just mentioned there, some of the symptoms. Thankfully, you weren't too poorly with it. But how was the prep then? Getting ready for this 4-day tour while you was feeling like that.
Yeah. You know, I couldn't do too much. Obviously, like I say, it was straight out of isolation into it. So I couldn't even go to a gym, but I just did some breathing exercises, went for walks and stretched out and stuff like that. I could have done some home workouts, and I did little bits, but I trusted. I gotta be honest. It was also Christmas and right into it, so yeah. I just I trusted my abilities, and since coming back out, then I hit the gym and the combat training as hard as I can to be on top form, and luckily I'm there.
Excellent, mate. That's brilliant. It's good to hear as well. For obviously, when this goes out, that you got straight back into it, and blessed to be in a position where you can just now. It's you're back on the horse, so to speak, in terms of wrestling, and you're able to carry on fighting fit. So long may that continue. What we want to know is, though, Tate Mayfairs, is where did it all start? Where was the bug for wrestling? Where did it come from? And how has it led you between then and now?
And then forever.
And forever.
Wow, where did it start? I tell you what, earliest memories is like I was year 4 or 5, whatever. I was like 6-7 years old, whatever it is at that point, and it was like the height of the Attitude Era, and like I guess the kids in my class at school with their older brothers and my older brother caught onto this really edgy wrestling product, and it was the coolest thing in the world. I'll be honest, like it was real life superheroes. It was something to escape into, these larger than life characters. And I saw Stone Cold like telling an authoritative figure like what he thought of them and beating them up. I saw The Rock coming out with his $800 shirts, and I was like, this is perfect. I can't explain it. As a wrestling fan yourself, I'm sure it's untangible, it's ineffable, isn't it? I think some people it just really, really catches.
Yeah.
And I was like no other. Like I was fully obsessed from that moment. It was going in the shops and just looking at the figures and like looking at the magazines and looking at the videos, and
I'm still like you now, mate. So yeah, I empathize with that completely.
I was obsessed, and like with other people where it was like a phase and it was like the cool thing at the time, like a Pokemon or a Yu-Gi-Oh or Tamagotchi, whatever, it just passed on to the next thing. For me, it really didn't. Everything revolved around it. And in my head, I was like, as young as like 7, 8, I was looking up wrestling schools in America in like books, in wrestling books. I'd rent books out of the library.
Wow.
And I'd be like, when I'm old enough, I'm going to go to America and I'm going to train to be a wrestler. And this is what I'm going to do in my life. And that carried on continuously, living this wrestling fantasy in my head until about 14 years old. I was getting a magazine called Fighting Spirit magazine. And in there was an advert for a wrestling school in London. And I was like, oh my God, let's do it. So I went there, and I'd like to say I never looked back, but within a couple of weeks, I was on a show. I was wrestling.
Wow.
And I picked it up quick. And it was a crazy, crazy world. My eyes opened wide. Not, I was a child and I was in a grown-ups world, in a Wild West grown-ups world. And that was a crazy experience in its own.
And in that sort of environment, then, sorry, I was going to say, you just mentioned there, like, it was a crazy sort of wild. But did you feel like at the age of 14 that you almost had to grow up quickly then in that environment, because you'd got there, they'd obviously seen something in you that said, we need to get this kid on a show within 2 weeks, and obviously, I'm assuming there were some hardened veterans giving you the bumps and things like that as well. I mean, did you feel at that age that you had to grow up quicker than what you kind of expected to, sort of mentally?
Yes. I mean, it's only retrospectively. Oh, there we go. It's only retrospectively that I can see that I didn't necessarily feel like, oh, I have to grow up quicker, but I just feel like I naturally did because I was in that environment. And weirdly enough, people just treated you the same age as everyone else there, and it's not that I was put into singles matches in 2 weeks. I'm not, I think the first one was a rumble naturally, but I think even a couple of months after that, it was like a multi-man tag, and a couple of months after that, it was a singles match on a show. And retrospectively, I grew up very quick, and I only really noticed that when I started, mixing with other people my age, and then also when I talk to people and hear about what they were doing at that time comparative to the world I was exposed to, it was very different. Yeah, for sure.
Fantastic. So obviously with that, then within 2 weeks, you're getting put in rumbles, you're getting put in multi-man tag matches as well. And confidence-wise, and how did you feel when you first stepped into the ring, when you're actually at an event and as a participant and not a spectator? How did that feel?
It felt completely natural. It felt like walking in a pair of shoes that were custom made. Brilliant. You got to imagine, I was visualizing this. I was living it every night as a child, like going to sleep, like thinking about what it's like to walk out that curtain, what's it like to be in front of that crowd, Oh, yeah. But it wasn't as simple as that. Like I say, I did that for about 4 or 5 years. And then my life took a slightly different turn, and the wrestling industry at the time was very different, and opportunities locally weren't quite the same. And so I ended up actually drifting away from wrestling for about 7 years until I eventually came back. Yeah.
Fantastic. And so obviously you have that 7-year gap. And I think sometimes I think a lot of people, don't they, when they've got an idea of where they want to be, they visualize it like you did. You got the opportunity at 14 to go to a local wrestling school. And then sometimes we have to just sort of take a step away, and we sort of see a little bit of the world, have lived experiences, for better, for worse. Some of those lived experiences. 7 years later, what drew you back in?
Well, I had a very, we're already there already, and we didn't even plan this, but I had a very powerful experience, and it's hard to explain exactly, but that experience kind of lived on for a little bit, and I don't know, the world opened up and opportunities open up in a way where it just re-unveiled itself to me in this time that I mentioned. Like, I don't get me wrong, I did have a lot of fun. I did a lot of traveling. I traveled around Europe, America, India. I was in bands. I was touring.
Brilliant.
But I was also, got into trouble, and I got addicted to drugs, and I did, things that were not good for me or the world around me. And then eventually, I had experiences, and I knew that I wanted change, and I knew that certain environments were not good for me. And a friend of mine who I'd been wrestling with when I was younger was like, "Hey, do you want to just like come to this wrestling session?" And I was like, "Yeah, I never chose to not wrestle, you know what I mean? Like, let's do it." And I did it, and I still had all the fundamentals like naturally there.
Yeah.
And it was like being, again, it was like being woken up again. And I remember leaving that session and going, right, like I was on a bicycle riding back to my place from there, and I just had the biggest, painfulest, cheesiest grin. Either way, one of those ones where you can't help.
Yeah, when nobody can take it away from you.
Yeah, it hurts. Please stop smiling. You can't help it. And I was like, oh, yeah. And then more things open up, and I was like, I'm in, and I've been back, and I haven't looked since. I've put absolutely everything into it, and I feel good.
Fantastic.
For it.
Well, praise God for that. I mean, the Wrestling with Faith podcast, you and I had a brief chat off air, like I do with everybody who I'm blessed to have on the podcast. And, we don't shy away on this podcast from, it's not just talking about wrestling. If wrestlers want to talk about other things, they can do. And, you've just said there, you made mistakes. Well, Peter says in Romans that all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. So you're talking to a sinner. Everybody you wrestle with and stuff like Absolutely. That. But, none of us are perfect. And, I'm just blessed, and so is everybody else in the wrestling industry, especially in the UK, that, you had those people around you, but you also had the maturity and the strength to be able to come away from those bad situations and get into the good ones. Now, Absolutely. I saw recently as well, correct me if I'm wrong, but did Tate Mayfairs recently win an award towards the back end of last year? Yeah, do you want to tell us all about that? Because I saw little snippets of that on Twitter. That you
I won a cup. Well, actually, I came second as the UK's one to watch. The one to watch for 2022. I was the second place for that, and then
my mistake. Sorry, it was that one, buddy. Sorry, I said that you won that one. Sorry, yeah. So it was the one to watch 2022, which is a fantastic achievement.
And then I was also wrestler. Yeah, there was a wrestler of the year and match of the year, or was it sort of show of the year? Yeah, as well. So that was pretty cool as well.
Talk us through that then. So how did that make you feel? And was it something that you were striving to achieve for? Did you know that you were going to be in for these awards and things like that? I mean, how did that feel?
I got to be honest. No, I didn't know that either award existed, and but yeah, I feel very, very blessed, mate. I do feel good about that. It's cool. Do you know what? Sometimes I should spend more time to take those things in. I feel like I'm always very goal orientated and looking at the next things, and maybe I should spend a bit more time to soak those things in a little bit more, because it's definitely cool. Like you say, the kid who loved it would be going wild for it. So
absolutely. And looking on the Twitter as well, which obviously I am going to get you to plug that and all other aspects of things that you're involved with in all your media as well. There was quite a bit of love on there as well that I noticed from other UK wrestlers as well, which was lovely to see. And it's great that, that in an industry like that, where you can tell me more, it can be quite dog eat dog and things like that when opportunities sort of come up and are few and far between. there was quite a lot of love on there. So it was really, really nice to see that as well from other wrestlers in the UK as well.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I think a lot of people these days are tuned into the fact that we all get on better for treating each other better, you know. So
definitely,
you never need to tear anyone down ever. Like, it's your own path is your own path, and really someone else's success isn't going to be the detriment of your own. You're the only one who pushes forward or prohibits your own success, really.
Amen to that. And you know, there's been lots of high profile wrestlers over the course of decades that have had all sorts of like bizarre, unfortunate starts in their wrestling careers as well, and sort of things that have deviated them away from stuff like that. And like you say, it's good to see like that when people start getting nominated for awards and stuff like that, that it's not just about the big name wrestling organizations. There's a lot of love on the indie circuits as well, so that's good to see. Speaking of the indie circuits, what are some of the promotions that you've done work for then? So sort of, you know, give us a bit of a chat about some of the promotions that you've done within the UK.
I've been with as far as like old school ones that have got like a notoriety in their history and their prestiges, like places like Premier Promotions, who still run the British Rounds matches.
Yes,
which is really cool. And same with All Star, in terms of an old school wrestling promotion that was, you know, was involved in the world of sports stuff, and runs some of the same venues. And then in the sort of more hip indie side of things, I was with I mentioned Rev Pro. I've been helping out there for quite a time, and I'd like to be on those shows in the next year, in this current year. But Riptide, I was on a lot of the Riptide shows and part of that, which was really fun, fantastic production and well put together shows. Schadenfreude, which was, you know, the child of Chris Brooks and Kid Lycos and stuff like that. It was a very fun and wacky shows. Sorry, did you have something on that?
No, not at all, my friend. Because like I say, it's just good to hear that you've sort of had a bit of variety in terms of promotions that you've worked for and stuff like that. And
Attack, IPW, Progress Wrestling, amongst many of these things. Yeah, it's
fantastic.
Been a fun ride.
Excellent. And in terms of the matches that you've done then, what is your favorite type of match to be involved in?
Oh God, I don't know if I tell you, you know, I love having the time to do a proper main event style match. Like I've been blessed enough to have some title match main events where I've got the time to really tell a dramatic story and a big action epic. I love that. Of course, I think, you know, everyone does, but then I also like the British Rounds match a lot. I love to do the Rounds matches. There's so much you can do there, and it feels so much more like there's just a lot more freedom to be loose and be more like a combat sport. And then the other side of it is I've done some really wacky like Falls Count Anywhere, you know, matches where we're brawling all over the place and we're using all kinds of weapons that we can find, and that's a hell of a lot of fun as well, too.
Well, that was going to bring me on to my next question, because what is the best gimmick match that you've ever been involved in? Or if you can't remember like an actual individual match itself, the best style gimmick match that you've ever been involved in where you just think, I'm really at home doing this?
But off the top of my head, I'm going to say Falls Count Anywhere. There's just a lot of fun to be had there, because I get so many creative juices and I've been in a few now. I've been in like 3 or 4, and I get so many creative juices as to like where we can take the audience and what they haven't seen before and stuff like that. I've been in Weatherspoons pubs, I've been in toilets, I've been in the back of a boot of a car, I've been in car parks, in the road, at the beach, in a football ground. Yeah, I've been everywhere.
You don't see any of that on WWE, do you? Funnily enough, do you know what I mean? And that's epic. So you've been in a Weatherspoons, you've been scrapping in toilets, in the boot of a car as well. I mean,
Yeah.
that is another level, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? I mean, that's not even like, that's well out the stadium. Do you know what I mean? That's class. And are those the type of matches that you feel really at home with then? The sort of falls count anywheres, give me anything to beat the opponent with type matches?
Well, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Truth be told, like I am more of a. It's just a lot of fun. You know, there's many things to do there, but no, I mean, I love the wrestling as well. So, equally so, the British rules matches are probably and the pure like the wrestling matches are probably as important, if not more important, to me.
Fantastic. And there is a question that I like to ask everybody, and it might not be something that people look forward to answering. What's the worst injury you've ever picked up wrestling?
Thankfully, I've been fortunate, and there's some wood here I can touch. But I've not had anything crazy. I've not had anything over the top. But equally, every minor thing that can happen. You know, I'd probably just because it's kind of there's always aches and pains and sorenesses and things that you got to work through and rehabilitate and stuff like that. You'll see many wrestlers have this thing that we refer to as the wrestler's walk. You'll see that they have like a slightly off kilter walk where we got bad hips or backs or ankles or whatever. But I mean, maybe most when you injure your heel, which happens it's not rare to happen. That's a bugger because, and I say it maybe because it's fresh in my mind because I'm dealing with it right now. It's you're always on your feet. It's one of the hardest things to heal because it's very rare. you ice it or whatever, but then the rest of the day, you know, you're always going to be on it. So it can take, even though the real seriousness of it, like the struggling to walk part, may only happen for like a week. You can still be in pain, have pain in that heel, and have issues with it for a month or two. Yeah.
So I suppose in that respect, then it's really important to know that you and your opponent, if someone of you is carrying an injury, then it's so important for you guys to have that kind of understanding and awareness, would you say, then, before you're actually sort of getting into it, or do you literally just blanket and just think, we're here to put on a show, let's do it?
I mean, most people say when you meet before, they say, hey, I've got this, if we could maybe work around that or whatever.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, cool, that's fine.
Fair enough then. So we want to know now all about Tate Mayfairs, the character. So Tate Mayfairs, tell me where this all manifested from, how it all came to being, and just give us the history of Tate Mayfairs, the character.
Well, when I first started wrestling, I was just a clean, good old baby face, as you do. And then the promoter said to me, "Oh, I want you to be I don't know why he wanted me to be a DJ." I was like, okay. So I came out with records and headphones on. I was DJ Tate Morris or something like that for a couple of shows. Okay. I did the Worm, like Sky Too High.
Oh, do you know what? That's what I had in my mind when you said that. I had Too Cool in my mind. Yeah, go ahead.
That was a laugh. And then I was able to create my own, and I had a character called Skater Kid Tate Levine. Before Darby Allin, before Mark Andrews, before this, like there was Skater Kid Tate Levine, and I came out on a skateboard, and I was a real cocky piece of work. And I feel like that laid the foundations in terms of the personality. So then I went away from wrestling and I came back. And when I came back to wrestling, I was like, right, what am I going to be? What am I going to do? And, you know, I was a big fan of The Rock and Ric Flair. And I wanted to do a character that was in those lights, and to tie into the theme of your podcast. I wanted to be someone who's going to be a champion and be able to headline a card, and someone that's going to be able to sort of have people's respect and they'll look up to and live vicariously through. Yeah. My biggest inspiration is Muhammad Ali, and you know, like The Rock as well and stuff like that. But Muhammad Ali, and I think like he was so cool. He was so, and you wanted to be like him, and then that you bought in on that level, and then you understand deeper about the person, and the person was a man of true heart and great faith and beautiful teachings, and that's important to me. And even though I haven't fully opened up to that part yet, and without giving away too much, that is my grand plan in many ways. Is brilliant. I want to be Tate Mayfairs is about being something and someone that people are inspired by and want to live vicariously through, and as they spend more time with that, understand the core values of that person and what's in there.
That's fantastic, because what they'll do is along the journey, then they'll see the evolution of the Tate Mayfairs that you eventually want the world to see, which is fantastic. And I think, like you touched upon there as well, when you see a character that's had a journey and has got, this is, you know, there's maybe 2 or 3 things that you think, oh yeah, that are relatable to this character. But then when you find out there's a backstory to it, there's depth to it, people buy into it a lot quicker than what they would do a straightforward gimmick. If I give example, let's just say The Undertaker. Well, we all knew what The Undertaker was when The Undertaker made his debut. Big, dark, tall, scary, doesn't say a lot, doesn't need to, because he lets his wrestling and his destruction do the talking. And that was pretty much it. But then, or so we thought, but then as the sort of years went on and The Undertaker started getting a little bit more on the mic, you started understanding there was a bit of depth. If we spin it around to like another character, like an emotional character, someone like Mick Foley, you know, the Mankind side of things, where that character, you look back now, and at the time, we spoke about the Attitude Era at the beginning of the podcast. You look back now, that character, Mankind, absolutely epitomized mental health.
Yeah, that's a great struggling, point, man.
Emotional, just constantly in crisis, constantly wanting affection, not knowing whether to do the right thing is the right thing or the wrong thing is the wrong thing, and mixing it all up. And you look back now. So yeah, there's a lot to be said, isn't they? Because we're talking about those characters. Absolutely. They resonate with us. Do you know what I mean? So
absolutely. So let me dive in a bit.
Go ahead.
Since you look at it that way, it's like, so the way I see it is Tate Mayfairs is the same person as Tate Levine, who was a bratty skater kid, and then he disappeared for a period of time, and all of a sudden he comes back as this guy called Tate Mayfairs, which is like, in my eyes, the Mayfairs is like him re-identifying himself as, I'm this, which is a scrappy working class kid who fights, and then he's come back and saying, no, I'm something. I've made something of myself. I've made money, and now I'm here, and you're gonna respect me, and I'm really flashy. I'm really cool. Everyone should love me. And then the first few years, he doesn't get that love or that respect, and it hurts him, because at first he thinks that he should have it, and then it hurts that character. And then we're at the phase we're at now, where it's like, now he's angry at the people, rather than asking for the love and thinking that they should love him and he's so great. Now he's kind of angry at the people, and it's like, you're missing the point here. You don't understand what I've done. I've been on the journey, and you may not have seen it, but I've been on a journey and I've become great. I made something of myself. I'm great. You should look up to me. You should look up to me, and you will look up to me, because, and now the phrase now is, because every knee will bend, every head will bow, and every tongue shall confess that Tateness is greatness.
Absolutely.
So that's where he's at now. And you can tell where I've pulled that from.
Yeah.
And the story ain't over yet. There's more to go with this character, which I'm not going to say yet.
No,
and maybe
no
no one else will
spoilers.
buy it. But eventually, when it's like I say, like eventually they will see that Tateness is greatness, because when the whole thing is played out, people will see a full story. And I hope that if it's one, or if it's 1 million people who understand it, then I will have done something very cool.
100%. And do you know what as well? It just sounds like it's going to be really explosive, that when those seeds that you've already planted, when that harvest eventually comes to fruition and everybody sees it, it's just going to be like, now we're connecting the dots. And more people just buy into it. As you know, as the harvest grows, like you're developing this character, it's developing. You know, you don't get from 0 to 60 in the click of a finger. There's a process there. You've got to have the process. Without the process, as you've rightly described there, it's soulless. There's nothing to buy into. You know, you can't just go from changing from one character to yours for the Tate Mayfairs. It just sounds like a full-on journey, like an evolution. Do you know what I mean? And there's so many different emotions involved with that I think anybody and everybody can pick up to. We've all been the brat. We've all been the one who's been on the journey. We've all been the kid who wants to be loved, but yet hasn't quite earned it. We've all been the angry individual as well. So everybody who watches and loves wrestling has been that individual at some point.
Hopefully, yes. Hopefully so. And along that journey as it happens as well, I love telling stories within the matches themselves about how, you know, karma and good seeds and these things also pay themselves off, and how we learn lessons all the time as well. But I want to push on more to the subjects you know, your podcast itself, because I do many other podcasts and we talk about these things or whatever, but I think there's something unique and very cool about what you're doing. And I listened to one that you did with an artist called Felix, and it was very cool. I haven't heard the ones you did with other wrestlers, but I will move the conversation on there. And I don't know where it was exactly I was going to start. Yes. So the journey of a character, right? And I feel like, you know, we can all talk about it now as professional wrestlers. We're performance artists. You know, we are, yes, we're stunt fighters. Yes, I personally train in other combat sports, and we train like athletes, and the injuries are real in this, but we are performance artists and we're telling art, right? And I think that art and religion have a beautiful relationship with one another. And I think that something so complex and profound as faith and like this crazy world that exists outside of the physical is it's actually too much to explain in words, isn't it? And that's why we lean to art, and that's why artists have this relationship with it. And so I talk about that character archetype, and I think that it's better, rather than me stand on a soapbox and say something and fall on deaf ears, it's better to have people experience something and live through something in order to understand it. Because I feel like, from my experiences and from many other people's experiences, this is the only way you can come to understand anything truly. Doesn't matter what the subject really is, but you have to live through it. You have to experience it to comprehend it.
Absolutely, 100%. I use an analogy as well whenever I'm talking to people about faith, is that, you know, if you ordered a takeaway and the pizza came to the door and the pizza was a 500-inch pizza as opposed to a 10-inch pizza, how are you going to eat it? And it's like, people look at me like, what do you mean how am I going to eat it? How are you going to eat a 500-inch pizza on your own? Well, I don't know. Well, yes, you do. You just eat it one bite at a time, just like you would do with a 10-inch pizza. Just because it's a massive subject and a massive topic with a lot to it, doesn't mean that you don't have to just dive in feet first and then got caught up in it and all and things like that. With faith, every part of ministry is just a conversation, whether you're talking to one person, like you and me now. This is ministry. We're talking about things that we love and enjoy. We're talking about faith as well. And, and every time you talk about it, it's just one little bite away further towards understanding. One little bite away to further towards understanding. I pick things up from you that I might go and tell my friends, like, oh, you won't believe what this guy Tate Mayfairs said about faith. We've never spoke about this, and that could light a fire there. You could go see your friends and get inspired about something that you and I have spoke about today. It's like, oh man, Dave from Wrestling with Faith. That's ministry. Every time we're talking about it, and I think some people think that to minister to somebody, you have to be standing at a pulpit and doing it to X amount of people. Just having a conversation about it and asking questions and being curious about it, like you said, about any topic, is the best way to approach it. And like you just rightly said there, subtlety is the best way to do it. It's like anytime you plant a seed, how many seeds have we planted where we turn around and the plant's already grown straight away? Doesn't happen, does it? There's a process, there's time, there's patience, and we all need that, and
absolutely.
And I'm sure that's part of your journey as well. Like with us all in faith, is that there's a process of just taking it in bite-sized chunks and just understanding it and how it resonates with us. Is that how you've sort of seen your journey in terms of faith?
Absolutely. And I think if you, I know many others, I mean, tell me if you're the same, who've had an experience or an opening up to something and then gone, oh my God. And then you dive in so much and then you're like, well, okay, it's too much I need to step back. Right. And you realize it's too big for you. It's too big for you, but you can go along a path, certainly. And for me personally, I hope this isn't. I don't. From judging of your character, I don't think you'd find it offensive at all. But
not at all. Carry on.
I don't prescribe to one religion at all. I've tried. I've tried. Trust me. I've been to all the different sort of buildings of faith. I've not, I mean, there's many, but I've been to many different buildings of faith. I've spoke to people at heart to heart with many people of different faith, and I've studied the theology of all the current religions, and then some of the really old religions that are from ancient times, and also looked at alternate spirituality stuff, and even I include in that philosophy and quantum physics as well.
Right.
And what I've come to find, for me personally, is there is many universal truths amongst all of them, that I like to think of it as like like a projector back in the 90s, where you had the projector and you used to have it at school, like this see-through paper, and you stick it on the projector and you'd write something in it. So I imagine it like one faith has got one thing there, and you stick that, and then you have another sheet and you put it, and I kept finding that you put them all over the top of each other, and there are some bits that are anomalies, and there are some bits that are absolutely bang on, in line and in tune with each other. And that's a very fascinating journey to look through that.
It's absolutely. And you know what, it's a great way you've explained it there, because I would always say to everybody, it's your own individual journey. For me, with God, it's your own individual journey. You need to, and you know what, on that journey, we trip up, we fall over, and we get bursts of energy where we're able to run with it. There are also times where we need to stop still and look at the crossroads and think, right, which way do I go from here? So there's all sorts to it. But I do love
sometimes you drop it and go, I think what am I on about here? Yeah, and then you get pulled back in again.
That's it. Maybe I've come as far as I can go. And also as well, like, I think for me, it's important to have not everybody around you in your life, but it's important to have what I call faith builders, like people who you can have those conversations with without people going, oh, crikey, is that my taxi? I need to go now. Do you know what I mean? It's important to be able to have at least 2 or 3 people in your life where you can say, do you know what? I had a had an experience, you know, a spiritual experience, and people go, right, okay, then. Do you know what I mean? So do you have that sort of network in your life as well, where you feel that you can talk about these things like over a coffee or whatever as well?
That's a great point, man. And I think, so I'm a bit quieter because I think that it's important to me, man. I think that it's very real, and yet so much of the modern world is not in tune with it, and I genuinely find that heartbreaking. And I want to change that. I want to be a part of changing that. And like I say, I think that unfortunately religion and dogma have become very dirty and have lost the interest of many people, for some bad people amongst it that have spoiled the broth there.
Agreed.
And I think that that's unfortunate, but I think that, like I say, the universal truths, the undeniable truths are exactly that. And I think that it's important everyone finds that. Do I have many people in my life that have that in their life? Not loads, but there are a handful.
Yeah.
I haven't yet. I wanted to put some people toward you for this. I haven't properly spoke to the fella, but Simon Miller, I know through a brief conversation, has some thoughts and experiences here, which you should have him on. I bet that'd be a great chat.
Yeah. Put him in touch, man.
And another wrestler, Smashing Mike,
Right, okay.
again, and then a filmographer involved in wrestling, does a lot of boxing stuff as well, Konstantinos. But I have small chats with the last two I mentioned.
Good.
And then I have my nan, and really my nan is the most important one in my journey of getting there, because it's actually her actions that led to me having a really formative experience.
Wow.
So yeah, there isn't many people, but that's the thing. And while I'm on that, I just snowball forward. Is like I mentioned, I was up to no good, and I was a rowdy kid. I wasn't baptized. I wasn't brought up in faith. I went to a school, Church of England primary school, so there was fleeting environment of it, and I did pray and find the theology very interesting as a young child. But then after that, it wasn't in my environment anymore. My parents weren't. I wasn't baptized. It wasn't obviously at my secondary school, and it certainly wasn't in my culture or friendship group. So I went astray. I did lots of crazy things, as we all do as young people. And at one point, I'd fallen out of the wrestling. I got caught up in lots of bad things, and my nan, who's very religious, she was very worried about me. And one day she sent me. She was praying at church, and she felt a calling to go over to this sideboard that had pamphlets on it. So she did, and then there was one that was speaking to her. That it wasn't talking to her, but she was drawn to this one thing. And she felt like, I need to send this to Tate, and so she did. And one morning I woke up, and it's just another day for me. There's a letter. It's from my nan. There's a pamphlet in there. It's a religious pamphlet. It talks about I think it was the footsteps in the sand.
Yes.
Just beautiful. But
it's amazing.
And I was like, that's very cool. But I got to go to college now, so whatever.
Yep.
I didn't think anything. I was like, whatever, cool. And I went about my normal crazy life. And then on the way back from college, I was walking back, and out of nowhere, I got struck hard. Like it felt just almost like, I felt like it hit me from the back. And I was just walking in the park, and it boom, and I stopped dead in my tracks, and my breathing went like weird. And I had this massive out of body experience where I zoomed out, and I could see myself from bird's eye view in the park, and then it zoomed out further. I could see the whole town I was in, and I could see my pinpoint and then out, and I could see all of London and out in England and out in Europe and out in the world and out in the world. And the whole time I had this focus down on me being there, and yeah, it's hard to explain. And I was like, well, and then sort of came back to my body almost, and then just surge of energy, and the only way I could describe it is like warm liquid like flowing through my whole body, like, and I was like, what the hell is going on here, like, what? And then just like super like the lights, the colors became vibrant, the world became vibrant, my breath became intense, and I just found myself like going over to a small river, lake, small river, it's just a small one though, and like just like intensely looking at nature happening, and like had these like really deep profound thoughts where I was like, I can't really explain it. And then I went home and I was like, looked myself, and I was like, I gave myself a haircut. I was like, and like this thing, and it turns out that at that very moment that happened, my nan had organized a group prayer for me, which I was completely unaware of.
Wow.
And that was the real like turning point. My life didn't like instantly change from that moment.
It doesn't, does it? Yeah, we all think it does, but it doesn't. But man alive, what a way to start though.
Yeah, it was powerful. And you know, and I've had many times of on and off and whatever, until like I say, but that was the first one, and then it became more and more frequent, not like as intense as that, but some of them have been as intense or more later down the line. But like I say, I don't want to like weird people off, because I think that we lose them. I think that it's more important that we bring people in. But yes, anyway.
No, absolutely. And you know what? I'm really, really blessed that you shared that with us. I mean, not many people feel comfortable talking about it, because, like I say, some people feel self-conscious when they've had an experience, when they have had a faith experience. It's like, and they feel that they're going to get judged. Well, yeah, you are going to get judged, but we're going to get judged for everything. We get judged for liking wrestling. When we're fully grown men, we get, I mean, listen, I mean, my things in my life are God, my family, and I collect WWF Hasbro figures and Masters of the Universe figures, man. And do you know what? Everybody I speak to, they get to know about it. Do you know what I mean? So it's all right. But it's like Peter says as well in Romans. I'm not ashamed to love and talk about the gospel. Do you know what I mean? And we shouldn't be ashamed about our experiences as well, or embarrassed. I mean, and Tate, honestly, I'm really, really proud of you, man, for coming out and telling us that, because that is an immense experience. And testimonies like yours just there are everything what inspire other people to go, do you know what? Next time I'm in this position, I'm going to take a leap of faith and talk about it as well. So what you're doing there is ministry, man. It all adds up. It's all faith building, that. So that's immense. And the fact that your nan, with their friends, were having a prayer meeting. So you had a room of faith builders in there. Great group prayer, praying for you, man. What more proof do we need that there's we have got a sixth sense? There is something else there. Do you know what I mean?
You say it, mate, but even as the receiver of it, I have been back and forth on it multiple times, and again, given more. Here's another one for you, Tate. Try this one out. Okay. But maybe it was, do you know what? Maybe it was the food I ate, or maybe it was the temperature. Maybe it's in my, because the brain's powerful. So maybe mate, all I can say is, yeah, I mean, I ain't got time to go for every one of them, but for me, it's undisputed. It's I can't even
these other ones we can save for another podcast, man. Do you know what I mean? If we've got these other ones, we can do these for another podcast. But sorry, mate, go ahead.
Many things, but like there's even been times where I thought like, nah, I'd rather not. I'd rather live ignorant to it. You know, I cannot, unfortunately. Like, I've been told, no, we've opened you up.
That's it. It's the undeniable truth now, mate, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? We can do a Jonah and try and run away from it as best we can, but we're always going to get brought back to it at some point. Something or someone is going to bring us back to it. And how do you think that shaped your life then going forward? Do you feel that Tate Mayfairs is happier?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, undoubtedly. It's yeah, it's huge. It's huge. And that's why it matters so much to me when I see other people sort of thinking patterns the same way I was, or yeah, feeling that way, or I just want to like help. But look, you know, someone will be like have whatever to say about me for saying that or whatever. It is what it is. But
I think with anything like that, my friend, it's, if some people have to speak negatively about it, in my experience, and these people can shout me down for it as well, it's because there's something gnawing away at them that they're not 100% confident with sharing or understand. And I know that when I see it in other people, because I was that guy. Do you know what I mean? I was the guy who tried to disprove everything. And a lot of my friends who now, are into faith and have had spiritual experiences, they've all been like hardened atheists and, and just out and out non-believers, and even gone out of our ways in our younger days to try and disprove things like that. So, it does happen. And we, like you just said there, we now see the signs of other people say, oh yeah, I was that guy. Do you know what I mean? So it does happen, doesn't it? So, but I'm so pleased, man. It's made you, because that's what it's there for. It's to shape you. It's to help us become better people and to be a blessing to others through those experiences as well, which is the biggest payback of all.
Yeah, mate, that's it. I mean, at the end of the day, look, forget, like, honestly, I really want to like help dispel the like religion is just a thing, right, that has its own thing. Just if I'm talking to someone else, right, so I'm not saying that I'm talking to you, but someone who hasn't experienced something or whatever and is feeling like, let me just say to that person, forget religion, forget that, all of them, don't worry about it. That at the end of the day, even if you get your science microscope and you go down as far as you can, you find an atom, you split that in half and you get two the exact same size come out of it. You cannot find a separation between any living entity. It's all 100% connected. Even if you go down the smallest thing and you cut it in half, you get two the same size. The whole thing flows from one thing into another. And we know that everything is vibrating and is energy. And we know that there's positive and negative energy, and you can feel that in your connections with people, in the places, in music. These things all vibrate and live. And we all know that we were born out of love, because you had that love that to happen to others. And we know that we all feel better and happier when we are being shown love, and when we give love and we see that reciprocated, we see the effect that has on another person, that makes us feel good. And that is all that it is about. You can put other words on it, you can describe it in many different ways, but it's all about love and positive energy and the fact that everything is connected. And your experience will be so much better if you can raise your vibration, and that's done by sharing love and receiving it. That's the only thing I can say.
Absolutely, man. And it's just, you've encapsulated it there. Be blessed and be a blessing to others through being blessed as well. Do you know what I mean? It's all a positive. There's no negative to it. It's all a positive. It's all a gain for you and for the people you share those experiences with. Certainly in my experience as well. And long may that continue with you, my friend.
Absolutely, man.
2022. Yes. What are the plans for, and I'm talking in the whole context, your whole life, especially your wrestling career, what are the goals, if any, that you've set for Tate Mayfairs?
Some things I'm going to keep under wraps because I'm formulating the exact how they're going to happen, but I affirming them in my own life. And again, that's part of it. If people want to look at, like, again, just a quick tangent, the law of attraction, you look at people like Muhammad Ali, or you look at people like Conor McGregor, and even loads of top businessmen. Look at the manifestos of top businessmen who aren't even religious. They'll tell you about positive affirmation, about how they spoke things into existence. They spoke it, they believed it, and they followed it through. It's the exact same principle of what prayer is. So just bear that in mind. But anyway, Amen. There are some things like that I am doing in my life, which I'm not going to put out there yet. But one thing that I will say is, last year, well, I was on a real roll. Leading into 2020 it was all picking up. It was going great. We got hit by the lockdown. That put a real halt on the things. And then 2021 we were able to come back from shows, but it was slow to come back. It was awkward to come back. I was dealing with some things that I had to overcome, and I did. And this year, like you say, the awards are coming, messages are coming in from significant promoters, and this year is the reaping of everything that I have sowed is coming my way. I just had the Progress Wrestling match air the tail end of last year on the WWE Network. I will be on Progress Wrestling throughout 2022 on the WWE Network. I was in NXT UK advert last year. I will be more of NXT UK.
Brilliant, man.
There are many other great things that will happen. I am doing one of the main things in terms of the fans seeing. I'm pumping up my YouTube channel. I'm filming a really cool few things over the next few months, which I will continue to put out on my YouTube channel, as well as my matches and stuff like that. So this is what's
those circulated on there. So obviously when you get those out, my friend, I'm going to obviously be getting those links and circulating them through my social media as well. So yeah, no, not at all, my mate, because at the end of the day, you're grafting, you're working hard, and you're following a dream. And like you said, you touched upon it just then, you're manifesting it, you're making it manifest as well. I've got a couple of curveball questions I'm going to throw at you, and I didn't mention these when we was off air. So first question is, these are scenario questions, wrestling scenario questions. Tate Mayfairs, congratulations, you've just won the AEW TNT Championship. And what you've now done is you've issued an open air challenge to anybody in the locker room to come at you to try and take that title away from you. Who are you hoping is the first one that steps out onto that ramp and looks you dead in the eye?
Well, listen, he's the current AEW TNT champion. He's won it the most amount of times, 3 times, and he is, in my opinion, someone who's had the best matches in the AEW history. His match with his brother, his match with Darby Allin, his match with Jericho, many of his matches, and someone who I look up into in the industry, Cody Rhodes.
What a great choice. Do you know what? He's getting a lot of grief in it at the moment from fans. I think he's going through that sort of that John Cena / Roman Reigns phase where it's like he's getting as much grief as he is love. But you know what? Like he came out and said recently on a vlog, I love it when you cheer for me. I love it when you boo me. The worst thing is when nobody reacts to you, when there's no reaction at all. So, man, and do you know what? He's a phenomenal athlete, is Cody Rhodes as well. And he takes a lot of grief. He takes a lot of grief for what he does in his private life and obviously the other shows he does.
Yeah.
Man, that would be phenomenal. Honestly, that would be a phenomenal match.
And that's what's so beautiful about it as well. Like, pro wrestling is meant to be like alive, and it's exciting actually, really, when you have someone like that. I feel like it feels very real when there's like a mixed reaction as well from the crowd, where it's like, now this is a human experience, because not everyone, no matter what you do, even if you do the right thing, you don't always get a hero's welcome, and that's kind of really cool to watch.
It is as well, and like you say, the worst reaction is not being able to get anybody's blood pumping, whether they want to hate you or whether they want to cheer for you. It's that grey area in the middle where you're thinking, Oh no. Do you know what I mean? So if you're getting a reaction, like Bully Ray says, there are some wrestlers that inadvertently they just cannot buy that kind of heat when they go
Yeah.
looking for it. There are some heels who go all out to try and get that sort of hatred. And some guys, whether they're looking for it or not, it just naturally, it just manifests, doesn't it? So yeah, excellent. Here's another scenario then. WWE now, okay?
Yeah.
You are now the captain of the next Survivor Series team running in.
Sure.
You can choose any wrestler, past or present, no longer with us or still alive and kicking. You've got 4 wrestlers to choose from. Don't matter which gender it is, whether you go for a mixture of males and females, but you're the captain. You've got to pick the team. Who do you go for?
Oh, gee. 4 of them.
4 of them.
Yeah. Oh, let's just find The Rock.
Yep.
Eddie Guerrero.
Yes.
Volleyball Rocco.
Oh.
Yeah. And let's have Shawn Michaels as well.
Oh, do you know what? I was wondering, I was teetering. I thought, is he going to go for Shawn Michaels? Is he not? Yeah, excellent stuff. That's a good one. That, to be fair, when I was, I asked another wrestler this months ago, and he bounced it back onto me, and he said, "Right now, your turn." I was like, "Oh, I wasn't expecting that." But I think if it was me,
what did you go for? Yeah.
Well, I went for Chris Benoit. Okay, controversial, but if we just focus on him as a wrestler,
in ring, phenomenal.
Pound for pound, I was blessed to see him and Kurt Angle in a 2 out of 3 falls match, and it was just, there was no story to it. It was just 2 technical wrestlers just going at it, and it was just the best exhibition I've been privileged to see live. So I'm going to go Chris Benoit. Now I've mentioned him, I'm going to go Kurt Angle. I'm also going to go as well Kenny Omega, and who else do I go for? There was I've probably changed it since then, but I would do, just purely for the crowd love as well, when he tagged in Eddie Guerrero, because again, you can't buy love like that. Do you know what I mean? It's just something that's so organic. So Tate, we are nearing the end of what has been. We've been in so many directions. It's been absolutely amazing. What I want you to do now, brother, is the platform's yours now. I want you to plug anything and everything that you're involved with, your social media, your merchandise. Go for it. The floor's yours now, because I want everybody to get on board with this guy, to follow this guy, to tweet this guy, to get on board with his YouTube and everything. So Tate, give us them all out, man. And I'm also going to put them, list the links as well when we get this rolled out.
Awesome. Thank you so much, man. And thanks for having me. The YouTube. The easy thing with me is it's all the same. TATEMAYFAIRS. Tate Mayfairs. No spaces, characters, funny business. On YouTube, on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Bebo, MySpace. But all of them, it's just Tate Mayfairs, and you can get my merchandise as well, and it will expand out a bit more. There's a few other things that are going to be coming in later in 2022, all at TateMayfairs.com, so you can find it all there.
Excellent stuff, man. I want one of those shirts
as well,
by the way.
Yeah, mate, do it. There's two different designs and then a bunch of different colors of it as well. So I'll give you the link to put in there for everyone as well.
Excellent, man. Yeah. And so like I say, keep us up to date. Obviously, anything else that you and I chat about as well throughout the rest of the year, again, I'll be rolling that out on the Wrestling with Faith Twitter as well. So it's just Faith_wrestling is the Twitter handle. And Tate Mayfairs, it just leaves me to say thank you so much for this evening. It's been an absolute blessing. It's been great to get to know you. I hope this is the first of many podcasts, and I hope as well, just as importantly, I can get to an event so we can actually catch up face to face and maybe do a little bit of a catch up and do a little bit of a shoot there as well.
Absolutely, man, mate. My pleasure. I think you're doing a a really cool thing. I think you should, you know, stay in this avenue because I think it's very important. I think it's really cool, and I think you'd be surprised how many other people have things to say here. And let's see where it goes. I would love to come back on. I'd love to talk more. And as a human being, like I say, there ain't so many people. So as a human being, I would also appreciate, love that we have this friendship now and we can talk further about this.
Amen to that, brother. We're definitely building onto something here. And like I say, anybody who you know is interested, you know, to get hold of me now, my friend. So it just leaves me to say, you've been listening and watching the Wrestling with Faith podcast today with Tate Mayfairs. Do not forget the name. Woohoo! Tate has now obviously got his fingers in a lot of pies, and he's also mentioned things like NXT UK amongst many, many other things. And he is available to watch performing on the WWE network. So get on it, guys. Thank you very much for your time this evening. And this has been Wrestling with Faith. God bless.
Yes. Amen.